George is a popular young comedian. He'll be appearing in his hometown of Seattle at a place called Giggles. I assume that's a comedy club. February the 13th through the 15th, and he'll be at the San Antonio Comedy Club, February 19th through the 23rd. He'll be in Las Vegas at the Comedy Store, at the Dunes, February 25th through March 2nd. And he'll be here tonight. Would you welcome George Miller?
Thank you. How are you? I am too. Where are y'all from? I am too. Good. I was watching TV a while back. I was watching 60 Minutes, and they were interviewing Arafat, and they actually said Arafat, they described him. They said Arafat is urbane and almost witty. So, well, sounds like Phil Donahue to me, but... So the next day I'm watching Ed's show, Practical Jokes, and Ed has a baby picture, and he says, this baby is now a famous movie star, and I'll tell you who it is right after this commercial message. I think, oh, great, now I have two things to look forward to. Maybe an ad for a toilet bowl cleaner, and then which neurotic actor did this ugly infant grow up to be? So, at one time, maybe they still have it on Ed's show, they were doing a thing called Silly Cinemas. It was first presented on The Tonight Show under the title Moron Movies. And I was always curious, does a moron know he's called a moron? If he's watching television and somebody uses that word, does he kind of perk up a little bit? I don't know. I went up to Seattle for Christmas. I don't know about your family, but my family, Christmas time, it's a question of, will you be able to consume as much food as the next person? Can you eat what I eat? Little singing I threw in there, yeah. I don't come from a real close-knit family. I remember at my dad's funeral, my mom and I left early to beat the rush. My dad and I never got along. He was an attorney, and one time he represented me in a court case, and he tells me, his own son, his own client, to shut my face. I said, hey, don't give me any of that legal mumbo-jumbo. I remember one time I was a little kid, and I happened to overhear my dad talking to my mom about me. There's no learning disability, Helen. He's just stupid. And growing up, he'd always look down at me. He'd always say the same thing. You're no good. You've never been any good. You're no good. You've never been any good. Sometimes we both get bored with that. We'd have to change it. You're no good. Have I ever been any good? No. So I'm getting ready to go to Seattle. I get out of the shower, I'm drying my hair, and I get irritated, because you know how it is. You start to dry your hair, but after just a few seconds, you turn off the hair dryer, because it produces some kind of a noise which makes you think you heard the phone ring. So I'm on my way to the airport, and I see two gay guys walking along. I know they were gay, because they both had mustaches and receding hairlines. That's how you tell. Well, I had been told when I left Seattle there's a very large gay community in California, and I always overreact. So my first day in town, I'm sitting there in a restaurant, and there's a guy right here kind of giving me the eye, and I thought, well, maybe he's like that. If he says anything, I'll come right out and ask. So I'm chewing, and he's looking, and I'm chewing, and he's looking, and finally he says, say, would you please pass me the salt? I said, yeah, here you go. Are you gay? He said, no. Do they use a lot of salt? Okay, so I get to Seattle. I spare no expense. I stayed at the beautiful and luxurious Loud Maid Motel. And I think the one thing we all look for in a first-class motel, plastic drinking glasses, especially when they've been bolted down and you have to slurp like a dog. So I go to visit the relatives, and there's a lot of Christmas drinking. And by the way, they have found out that is inherited, which I think is nice. The old man will always have somebody to hear with. Well, they got all these ads for the rehabilitation centers. There's that one for the care unit, and the woman's face down in bed, and the husband's talking to her. I told the kids Mommy was sick again. I didn't tell them Mommy has another hangover. If you don't call somebody, I'm gonna have to call somebody. Now, with this guy around, I wonder why she drinks. He does more whining than air supply. Drinking will foul you up. A few years ago, I had a good show business job. I was the MC for Seals and Crofts. After one show, Seals and Crofts fired me because I got drunk. Introduced them as arts and crafts. So I figured, well, maybe I got a little problem here, but I didn't have any money to fight the problem, so I went to budget psychiatrist, $3 a visit. Oh, you get what you pay for. I'm threatening suicide. He's saying you gotta do what you gotta do. I can't get a bargain. I went to a low-budget hospital one time. It was terrible. They didn't have very good equipment. They didn't even have anything to take my temperature, where the doctor had to use his wife's meat thermometer. I didn't mind taking off all my clothes, but getting into that little pan was a bitch. Hey, I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.